Okay.
And started the recording at 6:56.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, my computer was rebooting itself and it just finally let me get back on.
There you go. Yeah,
All
you
right.
Scott, Alex. I need Tim, Rick, and Denny. Just gonna mute myself a sec.
Yep.
Hey, Danny, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Gail. I shaved just for you.
Thank you. You look lovely.
Thank
I
you.
didn't.
Oh, well,
So smooth.
No, you didn't. You haven't shaved for a while, Ryan.
That's true. That's true.
what's those little spots up on the cheeks? You know.
I'll be rotating between coffee and water tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Water. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Well, no, this one's the coffee and then this one's the water.
Oh my gosh. I
Hey,
have
Chief,
lemonade.
is that a real plant behind you?
Yep, that's a real
Sad.
plant.
A real
it's
plant.
beautiful.
Look, me, Stephanie
It's
would be proud.
beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Gail, is the library taking donations right now?
No,
Oh, I was wondering.
I've been talking with Eric.
I saw something on the cart when I went in today to pick up some stuff. So
Oh, you did?
yeah, in the stairwell there were some bags in that on the cart. So
Oh,
uh-oh.
I'm going there tomorrow. I'll check it out. Thanks, Dan.
Okay. Yep. If you need help, let me know.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring Drew Johnson in.
Hi, Carl.
Trying to connect my new headset.
No.
Oh, you did it. Good for you.
No, I didn't. It's
Yeah.
still working on it.
Okay.
All right, we do have a full council in board. We still have a minute and a half. I'll bring Randy in. We have a couple, we have right now 3 citizens, so we still have 1 minute. I have Drew Johnson as he's on scheduled appearances on agenda item number 6. He's on, and I will go share a screen of the flag if I can get it. All right.
Well, I'd say it is time, it's 7:00 PM. Monday, April 19th. I'll call to order tonight's session of the Village Council regular session plan, council meeting. Go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. It's been a little bit since we've seen each other, talked to each other, so welcome back from anyone that took some spring break time. We'll take a minute here of silence before I'll ask Mr. Mallory to do the roll call.
Okay, roll call. Trustee Reister,
Yes,
trustee Wagner.
Yes.
And I will mention, if you're not in the village of Kalamazoo, if you
No,
can
it's-
state that,
I mean, the
otherwise.
village
Or yeah,
of
Village of
Vicksburg.
Vicksburg.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, the village of Vicksburg. And if you're not in the village of Vicksburg, please state your location. So trustee Reister is here, trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Here,
trustee Olson,
Here,
trustee Merrill,
Here, out of town, New Orleans, Louisiana,
New Orleans,
Still.
Louisiana,
still working.
President Pro Temp Keller,
here.
and President Frisbee.
Here. Thank you,
The
sir.
Full council is here and
So we have an agenda in front of you. I trust everyone's had an opportunity to review it. Look at it, see if there's any additions. I hadn't heard from anyone over the weekend. I apologize. I had meant to call each and every one of you before the meeting tonight and just got absolutely buried at work today. So apologize for that. But any changes anybody would like to address? If so, if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Trustee Wagner, I approve we approve the agenda as submitted.
Trustee Reister, support.
trustee Wagner has made the motion with the support from trustee Reister on the approval of the agenda.
Do we have an agenda in front of us tonight? We have scheduled appearance.
I just
Point of
need to
order.
take the roll
Roll call.
call vote here. Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
yes,
trustee Merrill,
Yes,
trustee Reister,
Yes,
President Pro Temp Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee,
Yes.
and the agenda is approved. And we do have Mr. Johnson on the call. So I'll go ahead and when you're ready, Mr. Frisbee, if you want to call Andrew Johnson, he's the leader of
Yeah.
South County.
Yeah, he's the executive director of South County Community Services. And Drew, I don't think we reached out to you, but we appreciate, the interaction and we want to know what's going on. So we appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. And with that,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate coming to these because, you guys are kind of our leaders in the community, and a lot of times people who don't know where to go come to you all. So it's really good for you to kind of know what's in the community and for us to kind of be in touch about, if you guys see any needs too, then you can feel free to have the feedback kind of go back this way too. I do have our senior outreach coordinator who is with us. I think she's still in webinar view. So I don't know if you'll be able to let her in or not, but if that's the case, then she'd be able to talk a little bit more about the senior programming that we've got going on right now.
Sure, Drew. Can I just have her name again?
Yeah, it's Sarah Cagney.
All right, she'll be joining us shortly.
Okay, thank you. So I thought that I would kind of talk about what we've done in 2020 and how things have changed over the last year, and then what we're planning on doing in 2021. We helped 558 individuals, 177 of whom were from the village of Vicksburg. And really our philosophy throughout 2021 was the same as it always is, really trying to connect people with services that are available. In 2020, they really kind of felt like moving targets. There was a lot of stuff out there, but it was very specific and, it didn't necessarily kind of encapsulate everything that a family needed. So we work hard to try and connect people to those services and then to fill in the gaps where we can. So we did about $60,000 worth of our own emergency financial assistance. So that's going directly towards people's accounts. So things like utility disconnections, eviction notices, that kind of thing. We also helped them get about $20,000 worth of state utility assistance. So that's a big thing that we really try and help with. That was one program that was quite available this year that people didn't necessarily have access to without kind of somebody to help them navigate that programming. And then we also did increased holiday assistance. So we did about $30,000 worth of holiday assistance this year, which was up quite a bit from where it was in the past, because a lot of times we rely on churches to help us out. And that was just very difficult for a lot of churches this year to do that. We still have the pantry open. We still obviously have emergency assistance open. We still have transportation going. All of those kind of have their own different restrictions. We're not right now letting clients in the building. We're trying to do everything as remote as possible. We also hired a senior outreach coordinator, Sarah, midway through the year here. And I'll let her kind of talk about what she did. But one of the things that I do want to say is that she did about 200 or so outreach calls to start out right as soon as she began to talk to seniors in the area and get feedback on kind of what services were needed so that we could kind of shape our programming going forward. And that has been very helpful. Also towards the end of 2020 and kind of going into 2021, we had some great partnerships. We worked with the village of Vicksburg. You guys may know that, but we helped, well, you guys really, you did most of it. And we gave you client information. We called clients to gauge interest on it. But somebody donated $7,000 worth of restaurant gift cards. And we kind of helped coordinate that, which was really great for our clients. It was very much appreciated. And then we also worked in early 2021 with the Vicksburg schools and with the county of Kalamazoo in order to do a vaccination clinic. And we ended up with just under 500 shots administered. That was about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. So that was great. It was really great to work with both of them, and it was great to work with you all too. And then in 2021, we're trying to rebuild capacity and outreach for our transportation program that's been hit pretty hard. Our volunteer base was cut down quite a bit there. We're working on better outreach for people who have mental illnesses and trying to better connect people with services that are available. Our emergency assistance coordinator has quite a bit of mental health experience, so we're really looking forward to kind of utilizing that over the next year and trying to kind of build up some programming for that. We will be reopening the pantry for customized curbside pickup pretty shortly, now that we have some volunteers who have vaccines and we have a better source of loose product coming in. And then we're also looking kind of towards the end of 2021, probably towards really trying to increase outreach, especially towards people who speak Spanish as a first language. So really trying to kind of improve our accessibility a little bit in that area. So that's kind of what we're looking forward to in 2021. And then of course, lots of senior stuff too. So Sarah, do you want to kind of talk about what you've been working on and what's going to be happening in 2021?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us. I'm Sarah. Like Drew said, I started back in July of last year, came in quite of the crisis with COVID. And as he had mentioned, you know, the big focus, my focus was the outreach aspect, trying to make sure that all seniors in the area, you know, had access to information, services and support that way. He had mentioned the 200 calls that we had made right there in the beginning, and 77% of those 200 calls identified that they did have concerns. The 3 top concerns were access to food, access to healthcare, and of course, isolation. So we kind of stemmed all of our work and focus then on those aspects. We provided food delivery to some individuals, had some volunteers, and then myself making sure those that couldn't get out, delivered them food. Healthcare, of course, and just making sure that they were had the access, support, referral systems, worked around it that way. And then the isolation, just trying to make, when I'll talk a little bit about that in 21, what we're going to be working on or what we have been working on, but just making sure they had those resources. We also continued our Safe at Home program, of course, with limitations because individuals aren't able to go into the homes or weren't at that time, we're hopeful that that can pick up again here real shortly. But that's basically home repairs, minor home repair services for individuals so they can stay safe at home. We have the kinship care program, which is older adults or grandparents raising their grandchildren. So support financially and socially for those individuals. And again, with limitations last year, but hope to pick them more back up this year in 21. And then so moving forward into 2021, we have formed what we call care calls. So it's for anybody who's feeling isolated, lonely, seniors, they can have phone calls, maybe daily, monthly, weekly, whatever they're feeling they need. And we have volunteers that are doing that for them. So that's been really beneficial to be able to start that up. We also got some additional funding for more delivered meals, working with senior services to deliver hot, cold, or frozen meals to them. So can make sure that they have that food. And then of course, outreach being a big piece still, making sure that people that aren't getting the information or just need the assistance to help them that way. A lot of the programs do, I think my main takeaway that I'd like to have you guys take away is that a lot of the programs do have financial functional criteria, but as far as the outreach piece, we just are really trying to make sure that if anybody comes to you guys, please refer them to us so we can get them those resources. And then lastly, we also just finished up last month. We worked with the Kalamazoo County Health Department and did the vaccination clinic. And they ended up administering 497 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccination. And most of those were older adults.
Yeah, and I should say that was great too, because we were able to call all of our clients who have issues with transportation and co-occurring issues, seniors, all kinds of people who really needed it, to make sure that they were able to get that vaccine. So it was a great effort.
I really appreciate it. I did get a call saying that I could go there, and unfortunately I had already had the vaccine, but I really appreciated the call.
Oh, good.
Right.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it was really nice hearing the people that had no idea that it was, even where to go. I mean, and we all know that there was some quirks right there in the beginning to get signed up, and a lot of the older adults that I'm working with don't have the access to the online, scheduling. So it was definitely beneficial. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions for me. But again, I appreciate your time.
We really thank you all, and I appreciate you coming in front of us. We take it for granted a lot of times and don't understand the work that goes into what you do behind the scenes. So thank you both. Thank your team for what they do and what they do for this community. One of the questions I have is, from your leadership, from your perspective, do you see, I've heard a couple of times that, like the in-person pantry and the home assistance is not going to happen till, do you have a till? Do we know, do we have a defined goalpost? How do we know when we're going to get there, where it's okay for us to gather and for us to get back to normal? Do you have other guidance in that sense, or is it something you're playing by ear?
Yeah, we're mostly playing it by ear. I keep wanting to open things and wanting to do more, and then we get another surge, it feels like. So we don't really have anything defined. The biggest thing that we had issues with in the beginning of the pandemic, when we did have our doors open, was that we had a lot of people kind of congregating in there. So really, when it is safe for the general public to just kind of be around, for people that we don't know have had vaccinations, then I think that's kind of when we would feel comfortable with it. But we're still pretty able to do most of the things. I mean, it's never as good as it is in person, but we do feel pretty comfortable with what we've developed. And I feel pretty happy about the customizable curbside pickup that we're going to be having pretty soon. So I think that'll really make the pantry a lot more useful to people.
Yeah, well, thank you, Drew. Thank you, Sarah. That's great information, and that's good for us all to know. We always, I think every one of us has run into somebody in need at some point in time, and really it didn't have the answer for them. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to steer them your direction. So thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Well, I think that was it from our team. So really appreciate it. Sarah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jim, did we have any other public officials that were on the
We do.
line?
We do not have any scheduled public officials, nor do I see any on the call. And to let Sarah and Drew know, I know you're busy and have a lot of night meetings, so you can either listen to the entire meeting or disconnect. We fully understand and respect your time, so.
Wouldn't be offended at all.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. So this leads us to citizens' comments for agenda and non-agenda items. If you would please state your home address, limit your discussion or your comments to 4 minutes. Mr. Mallory will walk you through, if you're unfamiliar, how to access it either through the phone or on the computer.
Yeah, on the phone, and we already have an individual with a raised hand. It appears everyone's on a computer tonight, so just wave the cursor on the screen and tap the raised hand at the bottom of the screen and it'll indicate it. If there is someone on a phone, it would be *9 to indicate you want to speak, and then when called upon *6. So appears that Rudy would like to talk, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the talk button. So you should be able to talk now, Rudy.
Hey, Jim, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you perfect. Thumbs up.
All right. Hello there, Village Council. It's great to see everybody's smiling face. This is Rudy Callen coming to you from the beautiful loft right in the heart of downtown Vicksburg at 120 1/2 South Main Street. I'm looking forward to the new streetscapes that are coming soon, and I appreciate the council and Jim proactively initiating this huge infrastructure project. I know that's a lot of work, and I know you're answering the phone as a complaint department quite often and will be, but I think it's the right thing to do. I'm also very supportive of the social district. You know, that wraps right around where I live, but I feel it is imperative to include a no smoking policy with signage included within the social district. As you know, any event in Vicksburg where alcohol is served, you know, where they get a special permit and all, where it's served and consumed, automatically becomes a non-smoking location. And obviously restaurants and bars with outdoor seating do not allow smoking. So therefore, I see that there is no reason to allow, or that smoking should be allowed in the social district. I feel this is a quality of life issue, as well as it provides a positive image for our village. So I appreciate the hard work everyone does there in the village, Jim and your crew, Randy Skippers and the gang. And I thank you very much for this consideration.
Thank you, Rudy.
On a side note, that's something I hadn't even considered, so something to bear in mind.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, we've made an initial inquiry to Village Attorney Andrew Horn, who believes right now and should have an answer for us that it can be done with council action, and very likely could see a staff recommendation at next Monday's council meeting, but no later than the May 3rd council meeting as well. But we're hoping to have the answer by next Monday.
Right.
And we'll have more on the social district from Alex Lee under the manager's report. We do have some more citizens on the call, so give me a minute. Again, if you wish to make comments, if you on your computer, just wave the cursor over the screen and click the raise hand button at the bottom. Give it about 10 seconds. There's a total of 4 people. And I do not see anyone raising their hands, Mr. Frisbee, so I'd recommend that you could proceed.
All right, thank you. So we have in front of us our general consent agenda, our minutes from our March 15th meeting. It's got the warrant reports. You got a big one in there for Prawn Newhoff and the infrastructure project. In rental events, Pickle Lake Association at the Pavilion, Leon Cohen's birthday party at the Pavilion, Farmers Market, yay. And the Vicksburg Vintage Show So those are all part of it, and the Rotary Charter Night too. If I've had a chance to review it, I saw no discrepancies in it. If everybody's good with it, it's time for a discussion. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm really looking forward to getting those farmers market and vintage show going in the pavilion this year.
Amen.
Mhm.
I do want the council to, and I believe it was in the packet, but both organizations have submitted their COVID protocols that they're going to be utilizing. The village will also be supplying cleaning stations and some materials for those to be as safe as possible as we start the season.
Great.
Thank you, Jim.
I move that we approve the general consent agenda as presented.
Holmes, second.
Okay, trustee Reister with the motion to support the general consent agenda, supported by trustee Holmes. Give a chance if there's any further conversation.
Just one comment. Jim, did you get that small misspelling that I noticed on the minutes from last meeting?
Give that to me again, because that'll be corrected on the record, Mr.
Yeah,
Wagner.
in trustee Holmes's time, Walmart
yes.
was just a small typo.
Yep, I had that on email, but I'm gonna, on my notes here. Okay, with that correction noted in the minutes. Hearing no other comments or questions on the approval of the general consent agenda. Trustee Merrill?
Yes.
Trustee Holmes?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Reister?
Yes.
President Pro Temp Keller?
He's muted.
Yes, sorry.
President Frisbee?
Yes. So the general consent agenda has been approved. We have village council action items in front of us tonight. Jim can proceed with that, sir.
Yeah, the first item is involving the wood chipper that the DPW uses. It had issues, and Randy had it checked out, was determined they were significant but worth the investment. As you can see, it is an amount of $7,183.18. It is used quite often, included monthly. But the staff is recommended council to approve that. I did provide prices of new equipment, and the piece of equipment is in good shape. We feel it's a solid investment to make this, but I have Randy available if there are any specific questions about what exactly went wrong with it. The one note I would make, President Frisbee, is included in that action is budget amendment, as we'll be taking from 2021 revenue. So it will not need to use reserve revenue, but we wanted to accurately reflect that line item in the DPW code with those corresponding amounts of money. So that way we can have the financial team and Michelle Morgan input those budget amendments instead of waiting to the third quarter's reviewed here in a few weeks.
Well, it's twofold. So we have the discussion. If anybody's curious, I mean, I know that machine runs a lot. We've got 3 weeks coming up that the village put out in their newsletter for brush cleanup for the 26th of April is the next one coming. So ideally we want to have it running for that, because that's their main tool when it comes to taking all the brush piles. So if there's any questions anybody wants to ask of Randy, and the second,
Well, I guess that the only thing I noticed, I have read through this, and it appears to me that Randy thinks that it is a viable thing to do to fix the one we have, correct?
Yes, it has very low hours on it. Really, that machine will last us for years to come.
Okay, Thank you.
Hey, Randy, curious, do you know how old the machine is or how many hours are on it and what it was originally when we purchased it?
2014 with 669 hours.
Yeah, so it's still pretty new and in good shape then. I mean, besides these fixes to make.
Yeah, it's really not even broke in yet. It's a diesel, you know. Anything to do with a diesel is more expensive than anything you'll deal with in a gas motor.
Yeah.
So, but the fuel pump's gone out on it, is what we're reading? The fuel
The
pump, the
inject-
injectors?
The injector pump, which is basically like a fuel pump on a gas motor.
Mhm.
So if there's no more questions or a discussion about it, we'll need a motion to amend the budget by $10,000 from the general revenue fund.
Yeah, if we could have a motion to approve us to enter a contract with Cummings to fix the unit as well as to initiate the budget amendments that we have listed there, that listing an additional $10,000 worth of revenue, which we've received, as well as the corresponding expense line. If there's questions why it wasn't the exact amount, it just gives us cushion in that line item as we complete the last couple months of this fiscal year, in case something else happens, so.
Denny Olson, I move that we fix it.
Love it.
Mr. Olson has moved that we fix the chipper, and can I believe you'll agree that that's allowing the village manager to enter that contract with Cummings.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They're a good company. It's a good engine. So.
Okay, Mr. Olson has made the motion.
Julie Merrill supporting.
Julie Merrill supporting, and we'll have the record reflect the motion, I believe, unless Mr. Olson states different, includes the corresponding budget amendments.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any other questions or discussion with the council? Hearing none. Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Merrill.
Yes.
President Pro Temp Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll get it fixed and get the budget amended.
Yes, we will. The next item involves Angels Crossing, and we'll keep Randy's mic muted. Last meeting, we're all aware that we invested about 13,000 or a little less than 13,000 on a part that was needed on the well house. Once that part was put in, there's multiple parts that talk to each other, and I'll turn it over to Randy here in a couple minutes to explain. But when we had Peerless on scene to start the system up out at Angels, basically what we're requesting tonight is the brains that talks to the other piece of equipment that we had, and that 2004 model didn't talk necessarily clearly to the new model. So the request is for approval of $26,440 for this controller. There's a portion of that, some inspection already done, but I'll turn it over to Randy to better explain what occurred and then be able to answer any of your questions.
What I believe happened was the $13,000 piece that we replaced here 3 weeks ago was the VFD, the variable frequency drive, which allows the motor to ramp up and ramp down in speeds, which I believe went bad because of the 1994 controller in there, which tells the 4-inch jockey pump which keeps the whole system energized, was bad. And it also tells the VFD when to ramp up, add pressure, lower pressure, shut off, start up. And it requires, it changes speeds and demands on volume as you water the course. So my honest opinion, the 1994 controller is bad. And I believe that is what ruined the VFD. So now, if we was to go through with this controller, we would have one vendor in charge of this whole well house. So I only have one person that would have to answer to me on anything that would go wrong in there again, instead of 3 different vendors and 3 different pieces to run.
Makes sense.
Randy, do you feel there was a disconnect between those vendors? I mean, that would have been the first thing that I would think they'd look at, was the control module and you know, see what it was doing to the VFD. Where was the disconnect between the two?
Well, Pro Pump designed that control panel. They put that together on site, from what I understand, in 1994. And then the VFD was of another maker. So bottom line, when they fired the system up, the VFD would not do what it was supposed to do, would not shut down, would not shut off, wouldn't turn on when it was supposed to. So Peerless tracked it back to the 94 Pro Pump control panel. So that would not jive with their new VFD that they installed 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And to go back to 1994, you'll never be able to replace parts in that panel to match up with nowadays technology.
Well, you said a hand mouthful right there. I mean, they are so different today, and Rand, you know, Carl can attest to this. The logic
Languages.
those today are just ridiculous, and just even in the last 5 years. So,
Right. The languages aren't always compatible, so that's another issue. So,
But I mean, I'd like to keep 2 different companies out of the situation. I'd just like to have one vendor make the panel that I know that they installed the VFD, and they, you know what I mean? Everything jives together.
Otherwise, we're going to have something wearing out again, right?
Yeah, you can't go back to a 94 and try to make compatible with 2021 technology.
Yep, makes sense to me.
just my 2 cents on this is that we need to be a little bit more proactive to those. We should have checked that last time before, you know, when you came to the council to ask for the money the first time. We should have vetted that controller. You know, I know they can go on and do the system scans on them, but I'm not being critical and I'm not being mean in any way. I just an observation. You know, we're a pretty easygoing bunch of people. We do the right thing when it comes to investment, and wouldn't have pushed back at the time if you had said we needed a new controller too. So.
I apologize for that, Tim, but I didn't get brought into the situation kind of till after the fact.
Yeah, let me go ahead and answer that. It's extremely clear now that DPW runs that pump house, and people will be held accountable if they aren't working for the village or the DPW. And I'm very confident the message is very clear and has been delivered that won't happen again.
I know you have, and I appreciate that very much, but that's good. And Randy, I appreciate what you've done over there and taking the lead on this. And you need to have your own lock box on there so nobody else is getting in there. So I fully support, you know, you being in charge of that well house. So here comes, we got to approve some money for that fix, and that's not cheap. So
So one quick question, was there any additional damage? So when we installed the new VFD, besides this control module that went out, like was any of the actual infrastructure damage, like piping or valves or sprinkler heads, things like that?
There was a small leak to one of the external pipes. That was how DPW was called there. But whether to sit in reflection and know what the actual cause of that was, other than this pressure wasn't being generated, it can't really be said. So
Sure. I just asked to say that I think it's great that we can get it all fixed and all streamlined so that we're not having those kind of hiccup issues that just come up down the line.
yeah, I think it's like Tim said, we probably would have had this information a month ago to present together had DPW been involved during that process. I don't believe, and Randy can correct me, but there was nothing that occurred that broke what is in front of the council today. It wasn't going to work, and as Tim's articulated and Randy to me, it would have been known a month ago when they proposed what needed to be fixed. I didn't mean to cut you off, Julie, but I think I saw your hand raised after I started talking.
I just had a question. Like when you install a new part and it gets ruined for whatever reason, is there not a warranty on that part? I don't have the paperwork in front of me that tells me the whole history of this, but if that VFD or whatever is destroyed or not functional, will we have to pay? Why would we pay for that twice, or they're not asking us to?
The part that we installed a month ago, that's not damaged.
Okay, good.
That has nothing to do with tonight.
Okay, so the 1994 part, can they marry those two by getting rid of the 94? No.
No.
Okay. Okay.
This is a PLC. It's a programmable logic controller. It actually talks to the equipment out there in the field and tells them when to run, when not to run. It runs schedules of when the stuff comes on and off. So if that's not working properly, plus the language it uses may not be compatible with the VFD they installed. So that was unknown.
What we're saying is we're trying to get everything that works together.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it sounds like to me. That
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, correct. And it was in the packet, but just to highlight for the meeting purposes,
Okay.
Randy had contact with additional companies and got a quote on the part that's in front of the council tonight, $10,000 more than the one that's in front of the council. So there was due diligence under our purchasing policy with that amount of money.
And it sounds to me like now Randy will only have one vendor to deal with instead of three. And that makes sense too.
In the electrical industry, and I'll be nice, we call it one complaint point.
I believe that is true with Randy. What I'm 100% certain is that Jim Mallory will only have Randy Skippers to deal with on that pump house. So
that in itself has been a good outcome in this whole project. So.
Yeah.
Yes,
So we
thank
have
you.
an
Thank you
action
both.
item in front of us to approve the need for 26,444 for the PLC control panel.
we also included, oh, nope, I'm sorry. It's enterprise. So there's nothing on the budget line item there. We're good.
No.
We entertain a motion or further discussion.
I move that the village manager be authorized to enter into a contract with Peerless Midwest Incorporated to fix and repair and replace needed equipment at Angels Crossing Pump House for $26,440.
Trustee Wagner, I support the motion.
Trustee Reister has made the motion with Trustee Wagner in support. Is there further questions or comments with the council? Hearing none, Roll call vote. Trustee Reister.
Yeah.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Merrill.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you, Randy.
Yeah, thank you.
On item C, and we meet with engineers as well as the contractor every Tuesday on updates. And about a month ago, we started discussions reference downtown applications. It kind of coincided with conversations I had with developers in town as it related to fiber internet and high-speed internet. That led, I requested a quote to put the conduit in when all of this cement gets taken out and before the next one gets laid, to have that in place for when high-speed internet can be delivered through our downtown corridor. That quote originally 2 weeks ago came back at $42,500. We were contacted last week by the company due to the cost and unstable market in this area. It was now $45,600, which they would only guarantee that quote until I think Wednesday of this week. We do feel it is a solid investment for the village to make into the future. We would have $45,600 available to use out of this year's revenue that was not assigned. So that's why we've put a corresponding budget amendment in an expense item of construction in progress. Though I can't guarantee it as I haven't seen the final work, I do know the village should be eligible. And hopefully here in the next 60 days, we'll be able to report with some numbers, federal stimulus money. And I believe that broadband and high-speed internet is a potential eligible expense. Setting that aside, I would still recommend that it is investment for the village to invest this $45,600 to get the conduit in place. And as we move into what I would term the short future, anticipating a higher speed internet to be delivered to our business corridor. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that.
Jim, what size conduit are they gonna put down?
I'd have to look at the specific quote. It is 2100 LF 2x2" PVC SEH 40 dB conduit in common trench, 30 inches wide by 40 inches length.
The duck bank. It's a duck bank is what it is.
That was going to roll off eventually, I guess. I'm just reading what they supplied.
All great to
I
me.
tell you how much it cost and where this village has the money to pay for it in cash.
I can let other council members know because I'm in the electrical industry. Materials are getting very scarce and pricing is going crazy. Copper is going way up. PVC, the resins, they're having resin shortage. So this isn't traditional conduit, it's a duct bank. But having said that, they call it a conduit. We talked about being proactive on things. I think this is extremely proactive and looking forward that we get this in now rather than wait 2-3 years from now and then we're tearing the sidewalk up or the street up to put this thing in. So I think it's very, very positive, forward looking. So
hey Jim, it's Rick. If I could just ask a question.
Sure.
We all know technologies are advancing every day, and I'm just curious what other technologies may be out there. We know wireless is, everything's moving wirelessly. Is that a potential option to this, or is this going to be, something that we believe will be feasible and relevant, not only in the immediate future, but, in years to come?
Yeah, I do, Rick. I want to put the asterisks out there. I'm not an expert in this area, but had one specific meeting. I believe it was this calendar year with a company that is in this business. We happened to meet with them. With Jackie Coney helped us out with the mill. Alex and I met with them. We had a conversation. Part of that conversation talked about the wireless aspect. But it's my understanding the way those two technologies sit side by side right now, to have that high-speed fiber actual hard wire has something to do, I don't know if it's broad width, speed, or amount of documents like financial institutions and certain businesses have to transmit is the preferred method. And though, if my memory serves me, the conversation was how rapid technology is evolving. So it wasn't something that could be stamped, will it be 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years? But it was more of a, hey, as we stand right now, for the foreseeable future, this would be the preferred avenue to deliver the best quality services to that business area.
You're still going to have a fiber backbone regardless of what you tap off from that. You're still going to use a fiber backbone. So having it run through the middle of town is still going to be a necessity.
Yeah, Ryan knows more in the banking business, but I know in the stock trader world, like the Chicago Exchange, New York Exchange, they're connected with fiber. They won't transmit anything wireless over the airwaves. It's all on fiber optics. So I don't think that part of it's going to go away. And Ryan has a comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, fiber, again, not an expert, asterisk there. It's the backbone to modern internet, and it will be for the foreseeable future because it operates on the principles of light rather than other foundations. So it's really the fastest thing we have. I mean, it spans the oceans, and that's what keeps us connected to some other folks. So I would say that, yeah, this is going to be one of those technologies that it could also, like you said, Rick, tap into the high-speed wireless as well. They can run those access points off the fiber backbone and increase that connectivity throughout the village as well. So it's certainly a great foundation to run.
I would just like to clarify one last thing. President Frisbee, it sounds like you're working to get NASDAQ or the Chicago Mercantile here in Vicksburg.
We're right between them. It's perfect.
I just wanted to.
There you go.
There we go.
So the question I had about that, and Randy, I'm not familiar with it. How do the access points? I mean, do we put in the conduit access points ahead of time? Is that all?
Yeah, no.
Or is it just one line from start to finish?
Millbacher has worked with a subcontractor. They would do all the work as part of the infrastructure project. So they'd oversee it and do all the work associated with ensuring the conduit is run. If it needs to be on both sides of the road, the access points and all of that.
All right.
But what we're looking for is, we don't anticipate this work actually being done for 2-3 months, maybe, because everything gets torn up, replaced, and before the final finished streets and sidewalks is when this work would be done. But it had come up in the last couple of meetings, just the cost associated, how it's rising and unpredictableness. So that's why we wanted to be able to seek approval from the council, and if granted that approval, let Millbacher know that go ahead and proceed and secure the
well, we want to lock in the price, right? We want to lock the price in.
Correct.
It's a hold for release, basically.
Yeah. I think we're all aware of the increases. So it's the opportune time if we feel it's something that needs to be done. it is the best time. I just got some quotes. I did a job about a year ago this time and it's a 24-pound piece of alloy, 20. It went up $700 in less than a year. You know, it's just, that's a small casting, but everything we're being impacted by. The COVID is impacting us more than we'll ever be able to understand and fathom and capture some of the financial cost this has had on the world. But we see it every day with building prices, the price of PVC, electric, copper is just going through the roof.
Yep.
Is there any more discussion on that? Everybody is comfortable? If there is none, I'd entertain a motion.
President Frisbee, President Pro Tem Keller here. I'd like to make a motion. We approve the village manager to enter into a contract with Millbacher and Sons to install high-speed internet conduit in the downtown area, Prairie to Main Street, at the investment of $45,600, and also the associated expense line items to be adjusted.
Trustee Reister, support.
Trustee Keller made the motion with support from trustee Reister. Any other questions or discussions from the council? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
Trustee Merrill.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
The motion passes.
I think it was Mr. Callen that earlier thanked us for being a little proactive and forward looking. And I think this is just part of it. But at the same time, we're very fortunate that we're in a financial position to be as proactive as we are. So we still need to keep up our due diligence and you know, make this work. So we're in a good point. So thank you all for that. We have Mr. Mallory's manager report.
Sure, we'll start updating on the infrastructure project. It is progressing. Right now on the initial timeline that was laid out, we're about 7 to 10 days behind due to some early on associated with the railroad tracks and dewatering. But now things here in the last 3 weeks have progressed nicely where they've been able to make up some of that time. I'm sure President Pro Tem Keller is well aware that Prairie Street has been milled and is down. The digging should start there. Could be yet this week. You'll probably see excavators on that. And things are moving forward. We have identified because as the project right now is on the sewer system, it will go back through Pearl and Spruce Street here in the next 30 days to replace a section of water main. Some of those leads, I think we've identified 11, have lead or galvanized leads going into homes. We are under a mandate by the state of Michigan to, if we uncover those, to replace them to associate with the lead and galvanized lines, and we'll keep the council updated. We have a contract price that's been built in to this bid for those issues. It's an incredibly competitive price, very good for the village. However, I do want you to know when we start replacing those lines, that is not associated with USDA loan. That loan does not pay to replace those lines. We'll be using our existing accounts that we have built in on the sewer and water system. But we will here in the next 30 to 45 days give you a count. The goal from the state of Michigan and expectation was municipalities replaced a minimum of 5% of those anticipated lines a year for the next 20 years, with the goal being that issue would be taken care of here in the state of Michigan. So that's one thing that we're meeting. Again, we meet every Tuesday. We'll be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Does anyone have any questions on the
I do.
infrastructure?
Is there a cost to the homeowner for the line
Right.
going into the home?
No, there's not. It's a kind of a non-funded mandate from the state of Michigan that will bear the cost. It does kind of tie back. I think it was back in January, we took action to be a part of a group of general law villages and in that, but what we have created with Andrew Horn's involvement is a consent form that the owners of the structure will need to sign for us to complete this work. I have, which is allowed, waived all plumbing permits for this project due to the contractors who are doing it and the licensed plumbers who would be doing this work. So there is that form, and through Randy and myself, will be, once the residents are identified, we'll be meeting with them individually and explaining that. But short answer is no, they won't have a cost.
Hey, Jim, it's Rick. Just
Yes.
average cost per galvanized or lead line. What are we projecting? And
$16 a foot and $1,000 for the plumbing. So it all depends on where the line lays as it relates to the homeowner is a contractual price. So it's not it can't be a flat price, because one side of the road will be a longer run. But again, that cost will be ours.
And the mandate from the state is 10% a year. Did I catch that correctly?
5% a year over the next 20 years, obviously, if you were able to accomplish it. What the trend is, most municipalities have evaluated this and have now begun instituting that potential financial liabilities into their rates for that infrastructure.
Yeah. What are our thoughts on how we're going to budget for that, do you think, or is it too early for that?
No, we're computing the numbers. I'm not in a position right now to, but I would say there's about 1,410 service lines in the village. We, like most municipalities, and highlight especially smaller municipalities, the record keeping, I mean, going back to the 40s through the 80s wasn't that good. So we're right, this is our first time digging south or north of the middle school, and we're looking also south of the high school as potential service lines. That what we've discovered is some of these service lines have been replaced by copper the full way, some only halfway, which there's just so many variables into this. However, impact overall financially at the high end could be $1 million to the village in today's prices over the course of 20 years. So we're looking at each of these being for budgeting purposes, $3,000 to $5,000 per one that has to be updated.
Right. Thank you for the detail. Appreciate it.
And
yeah, and
Jim,
go ahead, because I want to get Randy in. I juggle so many numbers. I know the 1,410 is pretty accurate, but out of those, and it's our best guesstimation on how many potential are galvanized or lead is far less than that, maybe 30%.
Well, that's good, because that's $2.25 million if they all need to be addressed. But you answered one of my concerns, is that we have a mechanism to capture all the residents. You have an acknowledgement or consent form we're signing. So we'll be able to capture those residents. I think with that, we'll be able to capture a cost, just in the case down the road that the state of Michigan comes to us and says, we will compensate municipalities for doing this. We'll have a good record of what we've already done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're mandated to file it by a certain date each year.
No, very good.
Because that 5% we're into that calendar year. We just knew we will capture at least 5%, we're predicting, in this project. And that's what we've notified the state. The state's very well aware of the permits we've drawn, and we'll be having to file that paperwork, how many we've replaced and all of that information.
Good, thank you.
The consent form just is because the general law, village law in the state of Michigan doesn't give us easement rights onto someone's property. So the consent is to allow this work to be done. There's typical liability type waivers in that, because there's a section of the state law that actually has us doing work inside someone's house. So if a resident would elect not to give us consent to do this work, we will have that documentation as well, and we will not do the work. We'll proceed forward.
That would be very foolish for them, though. I know we had the line replaced from the street to our house several years ago. And I can't imagine why somebody would not want to have that done, because then the water itself is going to be in much better quality.
Yeah.
Plus the water pressure in the home. I couldn't believe that the pipe that they replaced had the area that was left for water to come through was the size of pencil lead.
No, I understand that. And Julie raised her hand.
I just had a question. Are they going to change the diameter of the pipes? Because I'm getting by just fine with my diameter of pipe, and it's probably full of crud. But I just wanted to find out if they were changing diameters of pipe, because our bills are based on those sizes, and I'm content. But I have a commercial building and we're getting by just fine. So I didn't know if there was going to be any mandatory changes to the diameter of pipage, because I don't want to see that personally, but others might.
Randy, are they all being 1 inch?
They will probably all be 1 inch.
So like right now, I think I have 1/2 inch.
Probably have three, could have 3/4, but
I bet you have
so it would
3/4.
move up to a 1
Okay.
inch. So we standardize the system.
So there'll be, my water bills will go up.
I'll be able to tell you once we get there, and no, it will have to also determine if the lines need to be replaced.
Okay, because we've increased our demands and we're still doing just fine. But all right, we'll talk about this later. I just was curious for everyone, not just myself. Okay.
And Randy, did you, I know we've talked numbers, and I know I'm not going to hold you to it. They're not going to hold you to it, but what was our best guesstimate?
On lead services?
Yeah, lead or galvanized throughout the system.
I want to say we're looking at probably 600. 400 to 600.
Village? In the village?
Village wide.
Okay.
Yes.
And you could, we're concentrated on the older sections of the village, because anything west of town is well after they use that material.
I can't remember if the pipe they replaced was lead or galvanized. It was one of the two. It's probably lead.
Probably both.
Yeah, it could have been both. Yeah. I was just glad to have it replaced.
Any other questions on the overall infrastructure project? So, and to Mr. Holmes's question, one thing I want to make sure too, we're, in prepping these future budgets, we have Baker Tilly and Andy Campbell involved, and doing a lot of these estimates on any type of impact on utility invoicing, along with all of those projections, this is an additional variable that's being factored in as well. Seeing no other questions or comments on infrastructure, we did want to advise the council as we sit right now, we're anticipating opening Village Hall to the public on Tuesday, May 4th. We will be watching the local numbers being consultation with the county health department. There will be obvious protocols that we're utilizing to the small lobby, which basically would, under today's protocols, have only one citizen in at a time, but we've put benches outside. We'll have a sign right out front that was professionally made. We have all of the cleaning supplies, sanitizers, face masks available in that, but we did want to let the council know that we are targeting that date. We have a couple council meetings before then, and especially on Monday, May 3rd, to confirm it. But that's our goal, is to have Village Hall opened up on May 4th.
Great.
I don't know if there was any questions.
I have had a couple of citizens ask me when it was going to be opened up, so that will be good news, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually, I think, pretty proud of citizens and everyone's staff during these times. We invested in a fairly deluxe drop box, and to sit there, you know, and if people knock on the door, we answer, address it all the time, but there's a large percentage use the drop box and that. So we think it's worked out well, and hopefully it continues. But we're all looking forward to being open and seeing people again as well.
Normal?
Yeah.
What's normal?
Yeah, I know.
Having no questions or comments, I did want to talk a few tragic events over the past year, and most recently, the death of a 20-year-old in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, have brought a needed focus onto the issues of policing, specifically service delivered to and interactions with citizens and visitors of a community. This is in an area that is dear to my heart, as most of you know. I've spent over 30 years in policing, both as a sworn police officer, a police administrator, and now a municipal manager here in Vicksburg. I believe that it is important for the leaders of our village, as well as the community we serve, to know the values of our organization as a whole, and tonight, the values specific to our police department. The fulcrum point of our core values is rather simplistic. We will treat everyone with dignity and respect. By committing to this core value, we will give ourselves an opportunity to establish trust between our officers and the citizens we serve. We understand that we need to remain vigilant and work hard at keeping our community's trust in our police department. We have focused on providing service to our citizens to create added value to having a police officer on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days per year. Some of these initiatives have been to have an officer at each of the schools Monday through Friday, both at student drop-off and pickup times. This provides an opportunity for our officers to interact with students and parents in a non-traditional manner. Other initiatives include providing vacation checks for residents if they'd like our officers to check their homes while they're on vacation or even out of town, checking every single business within the village every single night to ensure that their doors are locked and nothing suspicious has occurred, and having our chief and sergeant following up on random calls officers have been on to solicit feedback on the service provided. I'm proud of each of the officers that serves the citizens of Vicksburg. I believe the progress that has been made is a direct result of their commitment to serving. Their commitment to understanding that treating everyone, every single person, regardless of their lot in life, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their economic situation, everyone will be treated with dignity and respect. It is vital in today's policing. I remain committed to this core value. I'm well documented in my belief in how a police department should be run. My positions have been published in national things, and I have no problem talking on this subject. I would want to publicly acknowledge the leadership of our police chief, Scott Sanderson. Thank you, Chief. I've asked the chief to provide his thoughts on policing, specifically the training he has had his officers exposed to the past 3 years, as well as recognition that the department recently received about our use of force policy. We will also provide information and statistics involving some types of the criminal activities that have garnered social media interest in the past few weeks. Speaking of the advent of social media, its popularity, and the ease that an individual can post, tweet, snap, or TikTok information, we are ever mindful and proactively look for that information regarding criminal activity, suspicious activity, or other social media information that would impact our community. In the past few weeks, there's been an increasing amount of social media activity in regards to criminal activity involving vehicles, whether it's stolen vehicles, larceny from motor vehicles, or suspicious vehicles in an identified area. Though social media is not bounded by geographic location, policing is. Our police officers are sworn to serve and protect the citizens and visitors of the village of Vicksburg. Their geographical boundaries in policing end at our village limits. It is an unfortunate reality that social media brings in many of these posts, tweets, snaps, and all of that information described above that speak in regards to Vicksburg and can be easily interpreted as occurring within our village limits. We constantly are reviewing any trends in our village and have consistently exchanged information with neighboring police jurisdiction. We are the only municipality in South Kalamazoo County that provides 24/7, 365 police coverage. And I feel through my experience that this is the top variable that has led to the low number of incidents within our village that Chief Sanderson will now speak in regards to. Once the chief has spoken, both of us will be happy to answer any questions on the state of policing or specific to the village. Chief?
Thanks, Village Manager Mallory. Good evening, Council. Just wanted to, as Mr. Mallory said, just give you a brief overview of the Vicksburg Police Department and kind of what we've been up to here in recent months in the past year. As mentioned, Vicksburg Police Department is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week police department, which is not the case in all departments. This means that you typically have access to a village police officer at any time of the day or night, and their response time to assist you is timely. It is important to point out that while the officers of the village handle calls for service, they also conduct several other tasks routinely on any given day or night. These tasks include conducting checks on businesses within the village nightly to ensure they're secure, conducting vacation checks on the residents when occupants are away for any extended period of time, vehicle unlocks when someone has locked their keys inside their vehicle, which the large majority of police departments do not do, greeting students during drop-off pickup times, foot patrols in the downtown business districts, just to name a few. I would like to add that once we get through the unprecedented time with COVID-19, my officers will fully re-engage with our community. We will again canvass on foot door to door with the residents about any concerns they may have, and also just to continue to build our positive relationships, if you will, with them. We'll also get back to some of our community events like playing kickball with the kids, which nicely most officers miss that and want to get back to that. And our National Night Out event that we began to hold in Vicksburg a couple of years back for the first time ever. We also continue to have our school resource officer assigned to the Vicksburg School District, and this looks to continue in 21-22 school year. Officer Guthrie is the school resource officer and responsible for duties associated with the high school, middle school, Sunset Lake Elementary, Indian Lake Elementary, and Toby Elementary, which makes him very busy. Officer Guthrie is responsible for policing services, inspections, maintaining a partnership with the school administration, attend school functions, assist with presentations of law-related topics for teachers, assist support staff, and lastly, continue to interact with students in a positive manner. Some of the trainings that the officers have attended in recent months that I would certainly like to highlight for you. Officers attended training. The training was called Real World De-Escalation on Use of Force. That was taught by instructors from Blue to Gold University. This training covered the tools to help officers non-escalate and de-escalate situations they may be in. The goal of this training was to reduce any unnecessary use of force and to increase our community's trust. Officers also attended another training that was taught by instructors from the same organization, Blue to Gold University, titled Duty to Intervene. This training covered topics that demonstrated to officers that it may be necessary to intervene in situations where another officer may be engaged in an unconstitutional practice. This will assist with officer wellness, safety, and tactics, and prevent potential misconduct and implement best practices in this profession. Officers attended crisis intervention training for law enforcement officers trained by Police Pro Tech. That training focused on reducing the number of arrests of people dealing with addiction and mental health issues, as well as interacting appropriately with those individuals. Some of the other trainings that they've attended: communication skills, report writing skills, search and seizure, and legal survival, just to name a few. In regards to our use of force, in December of 2020, the Vicksburg Police Department was entered into a review process of its policies regarding use of force. In January of 21, after review by the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, it was determined that the Vicksburg Police Department meets use of force requirements set forth by the U.S. Department of Justice. The requirements are that the use of force adheres to all applicable federal, state, and local laws, and that the policy prohibits the use of chokeholds, except where the use of deadly force is allowed. This determination certifies the Vicksburg Police Department's compliance with the U.S. Department of Justice standards for certification on use of force and safe policing for communities, as well as qualifies the department for potential discretionary federal grants. As the chief, I've also submitted a letter of support with other police departments within Kalamazoo County to the Kalamazoo Integrated Services in reference to a grant opportunity. Kalamazoo Integrated Services is the public community mental health services for Kalamazoo County. This is a collaboration between Kalamazoo Integrated Services and countywide law enforcement community aimed at improving community health and wellness, as well as to promote increased trust and beneficial interactions between law enforcement and the community we serve. The grant, if approved, will be used to train police officers in trauma-informed policing practices and de-escalation techniques. It will also be used for the funding of programs to be used within the community that are not otherwise available, such as mental health services, a 24-hour mobile crisis team, crisis intervention services, and stabilization, just to name a few. Just to touch on some of the current trends, crime trends, and looking at those crime trends within the village in 2021 as compared to the last 3 years, the trends are pretty similar. The 2021 crime trends seem to be on pace to be very similar, as we are only in the middle of April. It is important to note that I am only looking at the crimes that occurred within the village of Vicksburg, and those that occur outside the village of Vicksburg are the responsibility of the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department. I looked at 5 offenses and compared them throughout the years listed. Specifically, I looked at property crimes: stolen vehicles, breaking and entering, larceny from motor vehicles, larceny from buildings, as well as other larcenies category, if you will, that occurred, but do not fall into one of those other categories mentioned. And those types of other larcenies would be larceny of mail, package thefts, and those types of crimes that aren't listed. These, sorry to bring that up. These seem to be the hot topic crimes that occur. In each crime category, the total number of crimes so far that have occurred within each of those years are within 5. So within 2018, 2019, 2020, we're within 5 of the total amount that occurred so far. So we're still, I'm still watching that. We're into, I think my stats went through April 12th of 2021. Many of these crimes that occur are simply the crimes of opportunity, vehicles being left unlocked, garage doors being left open at night, as well as valuables being left inside vehicles, being left outside, that make it easy for someone to take. My suggestion, what are some things that residents could do to deter these thefts from occurring? Leave a security light on outside at night. Take your valuables out of your vehicle and put them inside. Lock your vehicles. Close your garage doors at night, to include your garage service doors. Take valuables that are outside your residence and put inside. Do not place mail, and this one's an important one. Do not place mail that you are sending out in your mailbox overnight. If you have any checks or other important mail to send, consider sending them from a local post office. Try to coordinate delivery of packages so someone is home or that a neighbor could be watching for them to pick them up for you. And probably just as important as all of these things, call the police when you see something that you feel is suspicious, or if you're the victim of a crime. Certainly call us and let us come out and respond to those things. And just in closing, I just want to say, as the chief of police, I continue to hold myself and my officers accountable to the highest level of professionalism and service standards within this community. My officers continue to work hard in the village, and I believe working together within our community and with the community will make Vicksburg one of the best places to live. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. One thing I wanted to conclude with, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions, is it is certainly known within the criminal world, municipalities who provide 24/7 protection versus areas that aren't or do not have that coverage. And those are opportunities as well. And I think if I heard the chief right and have it, there's been 5 larceny of vehicles in this whole, over 100-day span. So we just wanted to bring this attention to the council. We know that it's out there in social media. We're aware of the post. The data inside the village is tracking as it has over the last 3 years, and it is very low. So with that, I'll pause and be happy to again answer any type of questions council might have on the state of policing or specific to the village of policing. And if I need, I'll certainly call on Chief Sanderson for the local. Go ahead, Julie.
I just, like down here, where I'm at in New Orleans, they're doing 311 calls. Did I hear any of that happening in Michigan or Kalamazoo County? Like for mental health or different things where 311 calls?
I think up here, isn't it 211?
311 versus 911.
Yeah, and if Scott has further information, but it's been in Kalamazoo County quite a long time, but it's 211 get you to
okay,
yeah.
In Michigan. Okay, I haven't called them, so.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate Scott taking time as I haven't done a well enough job with the council, but constantly sending officers to relevant training and heavily weighted towards de-escalation, non-escalation, and service rather than what traditionally might be described as enforcement type situations. So, but is there any other question? Go ahead,
It's
Gail.
not a question, it's a comment for Scott. I had an unsolicited comment said to me from an elderly person here in town, and she was very, very appreciative of the officers coming around and checking on her, just coming to her door. And so I thought that she just said it to me. I didn't ask. So I think you should know that that is very important, I think, to some people.
Yeah, and thanks, because we don't hear a lot of that, so it's good to get that feedback and know that that type of thing is working.
Yeah, and it was unsolicited. I mean, she just she knew I was on the council, so.
Thank you.
Denny?
Yeah, Scott, proud of you and your team. I didn't like the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning from Officer Guthrie when he told me the front door to my business was unlocked, but I do appreciate it. We had a pit bull attack across the street a few years ago, and animal control was an hour out. Vicksburg PD was right on scene, and that I appreciate, believe me. The big one I remember with Scott was when I called Jim, and I had an 84-year-old neighbor who locked her keys in her house and couldn't get in. And Scott and Mark Peterson showed up, and Scott was in that house in about 30 seconds. And I tried 20 minutes to try and get in, and
That's scary.
Oh, it is. It is. Believe me. I mean, he just says, "Give me a credit card." And I'm going to buy a new lock. But that's. But appreciate you and yours, Scott. You guys are great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, if I may, Chief Sanderson, I don't have a question, but the training your team's going through is extremely appropriate for the times given today. So I thank you for your diligence and the staff, your team getting out there and undertaking that. To put that badge on every day is quite a daunting task. We all don't think too much of it until we need somebody in that position. So, I appreciate y'all being there, and I really appreciate the level of training your team's going through. So thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else for Chief Sanderson or Mr. Mallory?
I echo those sentiments. I mean, thank you both.
Thank you. The last item, and before I get to it, will be Mr. Lee updating everyone on the social district. I did want to spend 30 seconds. Mentioned it before, but I just don't think it can be conveyed enough. Very, very thankful to the people. I look on the screen, council to start with, for giving this opportunity that's now stretching towards 5 years. But also Randy Skippers. I didn't know Randy before I started working for the village, but just I love people on the team I'm associated with. They have passion, and mainly passion to serve and passion to do what's right. So just an absolute blessing there. The other individuals, I knew what I was getting when we started the pursuit for them, but I certainly want to convey to the public, Michelle Morgan, coming out of the private sector and service, was found just doing a fantastic job on finances. Scott, we just highlighted the policing. There's no doubt I knew what direction this police department would go, and as well as then this next gentleman who I rely on as much as everyone else for his opinion and advice and work performance. So with that, Mr. Lee, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the other 3 individuals I mentioned greatly. But if you can conclude this report with updating us on the social district.
All right, thank you, Jim. I will apply the golden rule of public meetings, which is the deeper you fall in the agenda, the shorter they expect you to be. Our social district will open on May 1st. We have created a social district section on our website. We have also created a QR code that visitors can scan on their phones, and that code will take them directly to that page. The page also has links to our 5 participating businesses. So you ask, what does that do? Well, a visitor can scan the QR code from any one of our social district boundary signs and be linked to the page that includes a map, the social district rules, and direct links to the businesses. So a visitor can review information and menus as they move around the social district. I like to refer to this as all of the uptown bells and whistles. And Jim is showing you that page
At this point, if you click on any one of those logos from our businesses, you'll go directly to their websites. It's a pretty neat deal. Now, our initial boundary signs that will go up very soon will be temporary, because attaching anything permanently in a downtown soon to be dismantled does not make a lot of sense. And we will also use the time before the downtown becomes a construction zone to measure how the signs work in terms of participation and compliance before we invest in the permanent signs and their placement. We have seeded the initial supply of logoed beer cups, wine cups, and stickers through DDA funds. They've been delivered to all 5 of our participating businesses, and that supply includes 1,000 beer cups, 16 ounces, 500 wine cups, 9 ounces. Both of those cups will have the social district logo, and 1,000 stickers to each of the businesses. And I will stop there and answer any questions you may have.
Alex, do you happen to have a mock-up of those temporary signs that we're going to be putting up there?
I do not.
And do you think that when we get to the permanent stage that we'll get a mock-up of that? But good job. I mean, that web page is looking good. The logoed cups look great. I actually really like that logo of the historic building and the font there. Hopefully the QR codes in the web page gets utilized the way that we hope. Sorry for the dogs.
I can tell you, Mr. Wagner, that that cup is a big part of the permanent sign. The permanent signs will be cut in the shape of that cup, have that same logo, and then they'll have an enter and exit marking on each side to let you know you're leaving the social district or you're entering it. The temporary signs will have that similar design, but we didn't cut them out because that was an additional $1,300 of work, and for what amounts to maybe 2 months of time up, we decided to cut costs there as best we could.
And I'm curious, how are we going to be affixing those temporary signs? I mean, are they going to be there on stands, or are they going to be on existing structure?
They will be zip tied to existing posts. In a lot of cases, it'll be our street lights. In some cases, it'll be stop signs or other things, much like Kalamazoo has attached their signs.
Hey, Alex, it's Rick. Nice job. Just wanted to share with everyone. Jenny and I had an opportunity a few weeks back to go to Saugatuck and experience their social district. In Saugatuck, obviously smaller community and really similar in size to Vicksburg. And first off, it's a little daunting when you walk outside of an establishment with a cup of an adult beverage. You kind of have to think about it twice, but you kind of get used to it really quickly. After a few adult beverages, it gets a little bit easier. But my point is, I was asking a lot of the businesses what they felt about it. Extremely positive. They felt it impacted their businesses at the beginning of this tourist season, and really well. And the overall experience, even in talking with people, there just kind of seemed to be the uniqueness of it, at least at this phase, was felt by many, and they said that they'd be back because of it. So a lot of positivity, at least in my first experience and having gone to another community.
Great, Rick. Thanks for that.
And I just want to make sure, Alex, I might have missed it. I had that set up to get on the website. Did we state the opening date that this is going to occur?
Yes, May 1st.
Okay. Figured that. So, yeah, and the permanent signs, they're going to blow people away. How cool they are. So,
Jim, if I remember right, we set hours for that, didn't we?
we did. It's 4 o'clock to 11 o'clock, but the individual liquor establishment, they have the last social district alcohol beverage they can sell is 10 p.m. So when someone can purchase it at 10 p.m., they'd have an hour to remain in the social district. but no activity after 11. And I would highlight and anchor back to Rudy Callen's comments at the start of the meeting. I thought was an excellent idea, and we do have that being researched by Andrew Horn. So
How are we going to police the time element, especially the 11 p.m.?
well, early on, I think it's educational with our community, where the rules will be up in all the liquor establishments. I'm sure hoping this new generation uses the QR code that identifies the rules as well. And I'm sure there's going to be multiple times that officers are informing, hey, the district closes at 11, and probably on the early front end side it'll be, please finish that beer and
Okay.
dispose of your cups the proper way.
So we've been thinking about it at least.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it opens at 4, so it also avoids that. And we have the option right now, it's open all year, but if we can be flexible in that as well. So Alex has really done a very nice job.
I'm sure he has.
Hey, gang, I'd just like to add, the one thing that's really surprising, families, you tend to think of this as a frat party. I mean, the images go through your mind that, people are out getting tanked. It's not. It's really interesting to have watched it, both in the middle of the day and to the evening hours. It's not a party atmosphere. It's very calm, and you just see people congregating, and really the next generation, that's what they're all about, is socializing. That's what our streetscapes are about, is creating those social areas. So this, to me, is a way for us. We keep talking at tonight's council about getting ahead of things and being forward thinking. To me, this aligns perfectly with that, because you'll be very surprised, or I shouldn't say you'll be surprised. I was surprised, to see the order that this whole thing progressed. It really was.
That's great to know.
Yeah,
Thanks.
if I could, in looking at this and talking to different communities of different sizes, Alex and I went up to Kalamazoo and talked to establishments. I've been on the phone with managers of other municipalities and citizens that have used it, from as far as Port Huron to up north. Our goal would be during a weekday to draw 100 people into the village that know they have 5 different eating establishments at night, walk around, get exposed to what's downtown, and even more on the weekend, and coming from outside of the village. So where we've talked all individually about going somewhere to a larger city for the evening, we'd love to only have 100 people at the start. Within the year, have 400 people a night come down and see what a downtown we have, and that hangout type, relaxed, chilling vibe, if I got the texting words right from my kids here to use.
Yeah, and Rick, I want to piggyback on that. My wife and I, we go down to Kalamazoo and we'll have a beverage Friday night after work, and it's a relaxed atmosphere. You get to walk around the downtown, which we currently work up there. That's why we're there. But when ours is in place, we'll be down here. But it's a great atmosphere. You've just got other people walking around having a good time. It's not partying, like some people might have been afraid of. It's just a better opportunity to patron those businesses that when you don't have time to sit down and spend the time inside, you just want to go for a nice walk, then that's what it gives you the opportunity to do. And of course, you can't go into other businesses with a different business's beverage. So it's a self-regulating opportunity once the education's in place.
My last comments for the night, semi-planned, are the next time Mr. Lee and I's professional careers are paralleled and there's an infrastructure project and a social district that needs to be established, he will be taking the meetings with attorneys, engineers, and contractors, and I'll get the fun of going to the liquor establishments and seeing how that works. That's my report for the night, Mr.
I
Frisbee.
don't know. Not till that contract's up.
Yeah, you're stuck.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Alex, for that. Alex, we have committee reports. Mr. Denny's got a fire authority update.
I wanted to let you folks know there's been a couple of developments. The fire board meeting. The next one's Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, and we are doing the social media. The motel burn for Schoolcraft that was scheduled for May 1st and 2nd has been put on hold. They found more asbestos in the building. So right now, fire chief and crews are working with the Michigan inspector to get that taken care of as quick as possible. So hopefully that'll move pretty quick. The other thing is on March 22nd, Chief McMillan was responding to a fire in the Fulton area. And the fire was at YZ Avenue. In the process of trying to get there, he struck a deer, doing severe damage to his vehicle. He was able to limp into the Fulton Fire Station, grab a truck, and respond to the fire. The chief's vehicle has been in the shop ever since. So if you've seen him around town, you see him driving his own personal pickup truck. That vehicle's a 2014 with 125,000 miles on it. And he should be getting it back. They went to put it into the paint shop and found out they had a transmission problem. So it should be coming out of the shop in the next day or so. Right now, the department's still averaging 100 calls a month. Right now, they're at 75 as of last night. On Sunday, they participated in the parade for the young girl who's coming home out of the hospital with cancer. I know our police department also was participating in that. They no sooner left the parade, went back to the station to park the vehicles, and got another emergency call. They had a full cardiac arrest that they had to respond to. 75% of the calls that we are still responding to are medical, and there are many COVID related. We hate to think about it, but it does happen. And so everybody still wear your mask, please. If the governor wants to put an order in place for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, everybody wears a mask, even out in public, I'll support it 110%. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Denny. I have a question about that truck. Is it a leased vehicle, or does the South County own that?
South County owns it. And then Scott, if you want to give up the Hummer, the chief can use it as a brush truck.
So 120,000 miles, it's time to go. I don't know.
Well,
put money into it to fix it. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, and I agree that that's up to the fire authority to make that decision.
Yeah.
And I'll know more. But growing up to be the son of a mechanic, I'll tell you, no vehicle's broken until it has 100,000 miles. And I drove a van until it had 358,000 miles on it, and I'd still be driving it today if I had my way about it. But now if you take care of them and you service them, they'll last you forever. So
that's true. That's a good point. But I've come to a mindset where every 3 years, 80,000 miles. It's time for another ride. But that's just. But all right. Well, thank you very much. And we had a planning commission meeting last week. I know that Mr. Holmes, you didn't know if you could attend. That's the only reason I'm asking. I told you it's totally excused. You knew you were going. You warned us you were going. But did you happen to catch any of it at all?
No, unfortunately, I wasn't. For those that aren't aware, I was at my first conference in over 16 months. I was the guy running around hugging everybody saying, thank you. I'm glad we're in Florida. But I did try to talk with Matt Schenkel ahead of time to get some perspective. I believe Mr. Mallory was there. Jim, if you have anything to add, but I wasn't able to connect with Matt prior to.
Yeah, it was a 31-minute meeting with the only action approving the expenditures of the DDA funds on the social district expenses during these times to help those businesses out.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So that being it, we get to the village, our trustees time. And I'll go right to Trustee Reister. If you have anything you'd like to bring up.
Well, I just would like to thank the whole crew that works in the village office, along with Randy. I think that we're very, very privileged to have people there who really care about the village and are doing the best that they can to make this village the best that it can be. And I very much appreciate the fact that money is being set aside so that we do not have to borrow money, because that's something that I've always believed in. So I'm really happy about that. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Gail. Trustee Wagner.
No comments tonight, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Merrill.
Hey, I was just gonna say, living in Vicksburg, with the police, and I just have had the saying, more Mayberry, less paramilitary, and getting away from that warrior mentality is a good move. And not that we've had a problem here, because I don't think we do, but it's always good to be vigilant. Then also Rudy's comments about the social district and smoking. As a person who resides above a commercial building, I know this was a problem for the people next to the old community center. After AA meetings, people would come out and smoke, and it would just go directly into their apartment upstairs. So I understand where that's coming from. And when you have these residents upstairs, those people who reside there keep that village active, and they really work on it, and they really love their homes. So it's really important to think about the smoking right under those homes. That's all.
Thank you, Julie. The Olson.
Scott, Randy, Jim, Alex, proud of all of you. Michelle, love you, dear. Yeah, always glad to see her and talk to her. So, but no, that's it. Just proud of all of you. Glad you're working for us.
Trustee Holmes.
Dittos to staff. Thank you. Do a great job. One of the questions I didn't get a chance to ask Mr. Mallory was body cameras. We funded that. Is that being carried through? Are the officers now wearing body cameras?
Yeah, the officers are all outfitted, and it's all the incidents are saved on the hardware and everything. Program's fully implemental.
Great. And, wasn't going to make any comments tonight, but I feel that because we're opening up Village Hall, that I just would like to share with the trustees that I think that we really should appreciate this moment, because not only are we leaders in our community, but our actions lead the community. We're being watched. As Gail said, people are asking, why aren't we open? I have my vaccine. We're getting to a tipping point where people are needing to be reassured that there is a reason for you people that aren't getting vaccinated. Let's do it, because here's the reality. We're not moving forward until the government identifies a sizable number have been vaccinated. It's that simple. And for those people that don't do it, I'm here to tell you, this will continue well into next year. You're already hearing this idea that we need booster shots. Do you know who the person was that made that original comment? The CEO of a pharmaceutical company. And then the news media found their scientists that supported this idea that possibly we need boosters. This isn't going away. We need to make definitive statements to this community that it's okay. It's, use your smarts, like Trustee Olson said. Let's work together as a community. Let's be safe, and let's interact with one another reasonably, and we'll all get through this. And we will have a B&B, and we will have, fingers crossed, an old car festival. But unless we all move forward with this, and I think I'm preaching to the choir on this, folks, I'm here to tell you the data that I see, the uncertainty that's out there, the people that are in their tribes and they're not willing to listen to what anybody's saying, they're doubling down on whether they're never vaxxers or whether they believe that if you catch COVID, that you're 50% likely to be hospitalized, which, by the way, is less than 5%. The statistics on this thing are so misunderstood by everybody in general. that's the sad thing about this, is that this issue was politicized last year. The press, over the 12 months of last year, they did a study, a European country did, and they looked at the news articles that were out there. Overall, worldwide, it was negatively portrayed. When COVID was discussed, it was negatively portrayed 54% of the time. In the United States, over 90% of the time. I ask you, what was going on in the United States that was not going on in the world last year? An election.
Yeah.
This issue was politicized. It never should have been. We all should have been on the same bandwagon, and we would have been out of this a long time ago. But unfortunately, we're not. And these comments, I wish I would have made them 4 weeks ago when I was asked by President Frisbee. I wasn't ready. But again, I apologize for using this time to ramble like this, but I just feel it's so important. People have got to understand, get vaccinated. We're not going to go, this isn't going to go away. They're safe, they're 100% effective. There's not a study out there that has shown present vaccines are not effective against variants. By the way, it's called mutation. Variants is a marketing word the media use. So get over it. The study that Israel just did shows that every single variant mutation is taken down by the current vaccinations. By the way, the J&J vaccine that's been pulled by our government, do you realize that more people have issues with nightly sleeping supplements than they do with the J&J vaccine? How many people worry about that supplement tonight when they go to bed? Not many. But why are we pulling this vaccine at a time when we need more and more out there? As you can tell, I've given a lot of thought to this, and I'll leave it as that. Thanks for letting me share those comments with you, gang.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Trustee President Pro Tem Keller.
I'm gonna try to lighten up a little bit. I do appreciate the staff, everything DPW does. This is for Scott. I'm just giving you a heads up. I got a new Harley, and it doesn't have a plate on it because I can't get into Secretary of State's until June. So I'm just giving you a heads up. You see me ride by with no plate. I've got all the stuff with me just in case, but I'm just,
Pull them over.
Yeah, pull over. Just leave that in the garage.
And I just get the bike in my streets for, I'm the only member, just so the public understands.
Oh, got cut off.
My street is completely torn up. So I got that when I got back from North Carolina last week as a present. So it's awesome.
But it's going to be pretty.
It better be.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, thanks, Carl. Well, I don't think you're getting off the hook. I can't speak for Chief, but.
Yeah.
Carl, if you call the Secretary of State at 8 a.m., they have times that open up every day.
No,
Good luck.
I've tried. The longer I waited, the more the date went out. So I picked June.
I
Fine.
hope you're wrong, because I lost my license, and Chief, by the way, if I get stopped, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it, so.
Ryan, do you have a better one? No.
Nope.
Well, I'll wrap this up. I appreciate the team and everything that's been done. So there's a couple of things that I want to tell the team here. I made a comment a couple of meetings ago about the interest in a tree committee, and that's been crazy overwhelming. We've got several people that really want to participate in that. You know, earlier in the year, I talked about putting together a steering committee, and you know what, it just keeps coming right back to us. You know, our discussion points as the leadership team in this community. I asked Jim, and I'm just saying this so we're all aware of it. I've asked Jim to reach out to Larry, the gentleman that put together a strategy session we did 2 years ago. I know we kind of left it open. I remember there was some things that we needed to do another step forward. I think that'll be the venue for us to do it. Thinks he's got another individual in that and plays in that arena that might be a better fit for us. But in any respect, I want to get through the budget, you know, and look at doing that in July, August at the latest. You know, get together, let's do a strategy session. Let's you know, group to what we want to see the community go, what desires do we have, That way, it's a little bit easier to interact on these discussions. And when you have somebody like Alex Lee that has professionally led these conversations. So that's my going forward point. I asked Jim to reach out to that group and see if we can get back engaged with that. And with that, I think part of that tree committee will come from that also. Just want to let you know, if you don't already know what we come ahead of us here, we've got 2021 budget priorities. Our conversations next week will revolve around the budget. Jim and his staff has got recommended road construction projects we want to talk about. The following week, we've got budget priorities, continuing that conversations. May 17th, we have a 6 p.m. Brownfield meeting, and we have police budget, including staffing, DPW budget and staffing to discuss. June 7th, we'll be into parks and recreation and historic village and village staffing. June 21st, we have the DDA, healthcare, pension liabilities. And then in June, we finally wrap that up with our 21-22 budget. So, this next month and a half, we've got a lot on our plate. So I don't want to muddy the water. So we're going to put off this committee getting back together, strategy sessions till that's all wrapped up. So with that, that's all I have. I'm sure you'll be getting a phone call for at some point in time from Jim and the team on your input on some areas in the planning commission, the DDA and all that. So, oblige yourself when you can to Jim and the staff. So with that, I appreciate it, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Trustee Wagner.
Oh.
Trustee Wagner moves. Is there support?
Reister support.
Reister support. So I hear no other conversation. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose the same, and they can stay.
By themselves.
Hearing no one. This meeting,
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
there you go. Tim, if you can stay on real quick, we'll just, you, I, and Alex, will make
Yep.
quick contact with Jeff, see if he has anything for the press.
All right. Thank you all.
Jim,
Yeah,
Alex,
the
see you
meet-
tomorrow night.
Yeah, the meeting ends at 8:57.